Hey guys, it's Bella and welcome to Leslie Luke Gothic group lesson 12, and our historical tidbit for this week is going to be Gothic warfare. And so we need to think a bit about what warfare and secular society was in late antiquity. So in the later centuries of the Roman Empire, it increasingly relied on Germanic mercenaries to supplement deficiencies in Roman troop numbers in order to govern such a vast territorial expanse. However, as the Western Roman Empire collapsed, secular society increasingly revolved around warlords, which were often army generals or wealthy nobles. And these would raid hinterlands for wealth. And this resulted in much arable land being abandoned in favour of higher land, which could be more easily defended. And this mosaic from the British Museum is from 5th or 6th century Carthage, and it shows a nobleman riding forth from his fort. And we believe this was made by Vandals, or at least in a Vandal home. And it's sort of as a symbol of the sort of lord riding out from his highly fortified villa. It very well sort of symbolizes the political and military environment of the 5th and 6th centuries, not just in Italy, but in many parts of Africa, the East as well. It was a difficult time. Now, warfare for the Ostrogoths. So, under King Theodoric the Great, they seem to have maintained a more Roman style of military, except with the obvious exception that this military was largely comprised of Goths. And there are frequent references found in Cassiodorus' Varia, which are the sort of state papers of the Ostrogothic government. We have reference in these to military camps, which Patrick Amory in 2003 suggests might have used the Gothic language as a sort of cant. So he suggests that there might have been two kinds of Gothic language: the sort of formal literary language of Wilfilla used in church services and the like, and then there would have been a sort of more vernacular style Gothic language used in the military camps. Part of the reason for this is that a lot of the first generation of Goths in Italy, of Ostrogoths in Italy, would have been coming from outside. They may have already spoken fluent Latin, but Gothic would probably have been their first language. Although their children's first language would have been Latin, they might have spoken Gothic natively as well. So this like warrior class might have kept using Gothic as a sort of language within the context of military camps. Although it's also highly possible that through a combination of Gothic and former Roman forces, the language of the military camps was Latin with a lot of Germanic loanwords. It's hard to say. We've got no real record of it. This is all just speculation. But so, although standing armies like what I've just described are a sort of relic of Roman military as an organization, Godric, they seem to have been associated with Gothicness. And we can see this in his constitution. So he quote here: concerning the barbarians who wish to testify by law, for the barbarians who certainly fight for the Republic, we give license of giving testimony however they wish and may, whether they should be drawn up at home or in the camps. Now, what he's talking about is that if a barbarian is accused of some kind of crime, or is involved in some kind of criminal case, they are allowed to give testimony under Roman law. So this is incorporating Theodoric's his warrior barbarians into the Roman legal system, which he's trying to keep intact. And he's making this distinction of whether they should be drawn up at home or in the camps, suggesting that it's not at all uncommon for barbarians to be in these military camps. And we can see this, the importance of military, even just aesthetics and iconography in the numismatics of the Ostrogothic kingdom. So this, I believe, is a coin of King maybe Athanaric, one of the Ostrogothic kings, to be sure. And you can see how he is kitted out. He's got a helmet in his he's got a helmet on the left in his bust, which Roman emperors definitely never did, with these sort of wild spiky hair things coming out from the top of it. And then on the obverse of the coin, he's got a shield, he's got a military cloak and a spear and a helmet. This is very sort of military. This is really military iconography in a way which Romans previously hadn't quite done. So this is showing the barbarian Gothic Germanic influence on coins of the time period. The wild spiky hair things, so it's fascinating. there are various theories. It's not just Gothic coins. Early English coins, Merovingian coins. Many of them have this, and sometimes it goes like even wilder, and it's called like porcupine style busts. It's really cute. And really wild. There's lots of theories for it. The one I find most convincing is that it started out as the sort of crown. So some late Roman coins depicted the crown with these like rays of light coming out of it, and the idea is that the barbarians sort of developed this motif and they sort of copied it, and it started to look more like hair, and that became interpreted. It became fused with this idea of the barbarian having this wild, untamed hair. So the crown sort of merged into their hair, right? Other alternatives, explanations are that it was some kind of, almost like spiky hairstyle that they wore for warfare. Others think that it's just sort of almost like a geometric design that came into me. It's really hard to say, but it's very fascinating in terms of its origins. I personally prefer that it evolved from the sort of crown and the diadema of like late Roman imperial coinage. So this is a castrum from Greece, and it's like a similar kind that would have been followed in the West because the organization of Roman military camps was very consistent and uniform wherever they went. So this is just a vague idea of what it might have looked like. And actually, what's quite important about this is you may notice there are four gates, and these effectively form a crossroads throughout the center of the camp, and these would expand outwards onto Roman road, which would later be built. Once the first camp was initially built in wood, oftentimes if they were going to be staying there for longer expeditions, these camps would be rebuilt in stone, and many cities emerged from these camps. Like Paris is a good example. Several cities emerged initially from Roman military camps in the West. Which brings us to Publius Flavius Vegetius Renatius de Re Militari. So, Publius Flavius Vegetius Renatius, aka Vegetius, writing sometime in the late 4th or early 5th century Common Era, he records from books and sources and like interviews how the Roman army used to function in earlier, more prosperous centuries of the empire, and his treatise on military matters became one of the most popular in medieval times. Although note that the esteemed scholar of medieval warfare Helen Nicholson, 2002, suggests that the battle tactics and military organization in Vegetius, not just him but also Caesar and others, was probably rarely enacted. There's not much record of medieval people following this advice, but they were sort of copying it because it seems like the right thing to do. It's the kind of thing that a diligent commander does. And Book 1, chapters 11 and 12, which you can see the start of chapter 11 here from an early manuscript of it, these chapters describe military training, and here we are. It says, so you can pause that if you want a long explanation, which is my personal theory for why the Roman army adopted the Sparta, but we're going to move on to Vegetius. So there's the Latin, copy paste that for yourself, or like pause and screenshot that so that you can see the quote. And yeah, so the ancients, just as one finds in books, would train their recruits in this way, says Vegetius. They would weave shields from twigs in the shape of circular wickers, so that the bundle would have double weight than the public shield usually had, meaning the shield that they would wear in battle. And likewise, they would give wooden swords of double weight also to the recruits for their swords. And in the same way, they would be trained at the pels not only in the morning, but even beyond noon. For the use of pels works best not only for soldiers, but also gladiators. For neither the arena nor battlefield ever deemed a man undefeated in arms unless he, well trained, was diligently trained at the pel first. Individual pels for each recruit would be fixed into the ground so that they would not budge and would stand 6 feet high. The recruit with that wicker work and cudgel, as if with a shield and sword, would practice against that pel as if against an enemy, so that now he would attack the head or the face, now he would threaten the sides, meanwhile he would try to slash the knees and legs, he would retreat, leap forward, advance, as if the enemy were present, and thus he would test the pel with every attack, every bellicose art. There is the Latin for the chapter 12. They would learn especially to strike not with the edge but with the point, for the Romans not only defeat easily but even mock those fighting at sword edge. For the edge, when the attack may come, does not often kill, since the vital organs shall be protected both by arms and bones. However, a point entered 2 inches is lethal. For by necessity anything that is entered shall penetrate the vital organs. Then when the edge is born, the right arm and side are exposed, but the thrust is born with the body covered and gets the enemy before he shall see it. And thus the Romans are accustomed to fighting in the same manner, that shield and cudgel of double weight should be given, so that when the recruit takes up a real and lighter weapon, he should fight more securely and fiercely, as if freed from a heavier weight. Another Latin quote for those who are diligent and want to read it in the original, which tells us about the Goths. So we're getting into the meat here. So the place demands that we try to relate in which manner of arms the recruits are to be instructed or equipped. But in this part the ancient custom is almost destroyed, for namely with the example of the Goths and Alans and Huns cavalry arms abound, while the infantry are normally denuded, that is, they sort of fight unarmoured. It doesn't mean naked. From the founding of the city all the way to the time of divine Gratian, the infantry would be supplied with body armour and helmets. But since the camp exercise ceases from desired things with negligence intervening, arms began to be seen as heavy, which soldiers would rarely put on, and therefore they first demand body armour from the emperor, then helmets to sit and throw out. Thus, with uncovered chests and heads, our soldiers gathered against the Goths are often destroyed by a multitude of arrows, nor after such slaughter, which arrived all the way to the boundaries cities, whose duty it was to distribute body armour or helmets to the infantry. Even more Latin. But a heavy helmet and armour seems heavy to a soldier, perhaps rarely wearing it, perhaps rarely using weapons. And on the other hand, daily use doesn't toil someone, even if it seems burdensome. The infantry army, however, used missiles which are called pila, fixed with a molten iron triangle of 9 inches or a foot, which once fixed in a shield cannot be removed, and knowledgeably and bravely directed easily penetrates armour, weapons of which kind are now rare among us. And this is a really interesting tidbit. However, the shielded barbarians use these especially, which they call bebras, and they also carry 2 or 3 in battle. So these bebras, I feel like it might be a Germanic word, bebras. I don't think I asked people if they were able to find a cognate in Gothic. I haven't seen anything like it. But it's really interesting. So yeah, which they call bebras, and they carry 2 or 3 in battle. It is to be, is that a Proto-Germanic word, bebras? But yeah, I'm guessing maybe. So yeah, maybe it is. If someone finds an answer and whether bebras actually is a yes. I'm guessing that it's like that's the plural, right? Because they're saying that they carry 2 or 3 in battle. So I'm guessing it's bebra originally, or maybe bebro. I don't know. It's hard to say. So yeah, however, the shielded barbarians use these javelins, especially which they call bebras, and they also carry 2 or 3 in battle. It is to be known, moreover, that when it comes to missiles, that soldiers should have their left feet forward. For thus the attack with vibrating javelins is more violent. But when it comes to the pila, as they call it, and it's fought hand to hand with swords, then soldiers should have their right feet forward, so that their sides are also withdrawn from the enemies, lest they be able to receive a wound, and that the right side be narrow, which can deal a blow. Therefore it stands that recruits must be protected by all kinds of ancient arms, for by necessity one with protected head or chest who does not fear injury may summon fiercer courage in fighting. So that was a long bunch of quotes from Vegetius, but it gives you a really interesting view as to what fighting in the Roman army would have been like, and it tells you some of the differences between how the Goths and how the Romans were fighting. And I'll bring us back to this mosaic from Carthage to leave us with one more sort of story, and this is that Eugipius in his Life of Saint Severin, which is a sort of novel that was written during the Ostrogothic period and relating events just before before the Gothic conquest. So while Italy was being invaded by Alaric's Goths, and he sort of says that the situation had gotten so bad that people abandoned the outer regions, the hinterlands of their cities, and they would retreat inside cities like the one in this mosaic with their defended walls in order to be safe from barbarian attacks, because Eugipius says that the Goths would take anything that's left outside the city walls for themselves as they would plunder Italy. So there we go. And that's it. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. And failing that, we should go on to our Gothic language lessons. Laissez Gothic Anwerth. Cool. So 12th lesson. I'm really hoping this is the correct lesson. If we have done the 12th lesson before, somebody please tell me in chat. I don't think we have. But anyway, so 12th lesson. Two other important verbs to deal with in the past tense, because we did some in the past tense last lesson, are magan and willian. And although they're both irregular in their roots, the endings are still quite familiar. So here we have magan. So machta is I could, or I was able to. Machtes is you could. Machta is he, she, it, they could. Plural is machtedum, we were able to. Machteduth, you plural were able to. And machtedun is they were able to. And Yoshi is saying it's a cognate with English might, which is exactly true, yes. So ik machte and I might. You can see how they're similar with English. And then Willian as well. So will is I wanted or I would, because in even in Victorian English, I would sort of also meant I wanted, but we don't say it anymore. So will I wanted, will there's you wanted, will he, she, it, they wanted, will we wanted, will is you plural wanted, and then will is they wanted, they plural wanted. So we come to our word stock. Ganoch Swissan is to be enough, which you are all enough. Sockens is a question. Socken is again question, but that's the accusative singular form. Enleaf is 11. 12 is 12. 3 techun is 13. 4 techun is 14. 5 techun is 15. 6 techun 16. 7 techun 17. 8 techun 18. 9 techun 19. And then if is sort of it's a particle and that means however or but, or a conjunction rather. You might notice with enleaf 12, 3 techun that they sound fairly similar to our English numbers, and that's not without reason because it's a Germanic language. So let us do some questions. Translate each phrase from Gothic into English. So Gothic skjach Spanish xamanar rodian wilvedon it is ni machteden rodian ia wella. Who can translate this rather long sentence for me? A shiny for whoever can translate that for me. That's a reference that only the British people in chat are going to get. Brithbongers rise up. Okay. I will play. Huh? Gold sticker, maybe. For the boring Americans who didn't grow up with that show, you get a gold sticker. Anyone want to type out the answer? Don't be shy. Type it out in voice. I know it's a long sentence, but we can sort of Gutes Jach Spanish. I'm very sure we can intuit what those are. Come on, nobody. Yes, so Yoshi has helpfully slotted it in. So Gothic and Spanish together to speak they want. So Pale has guessed I might speak. No, so the reason Pale is that Wilvedun, as you can see in the chart above, is third person plural. So it's they wanted. So it's literally they wanted to speak Gothic and Spanish together. However, they couldn't speak it well, or they couldn't speak them well. So there you go. So given that we've had rather tepid responses in chat, we will move on. But I again highly suggest you do this. There's it's not like there's no point watching the lessons if you're not doing the workbook exercises in your own time, but it doesn't do very much good for you. So you need to do that, and then you can actually use Gothic. So the past tense of kunan and witan, both very important verbs, are given below. You guys are tepid, yes, exactly. We translated that word into Gothic and I've forgotten what it is, but you guys are tepid in Gothic. So the past tense of kunan, kuntha is I knew, kunthes is you knew, kuntha hishir they knew, kunthadum we knew, kunthadus you plural knew, and kunthadun is they plural knew. Let's just say hypothetically for the sake of argument. And then witan, wisa is I knew, wises is you knew, wisa is he, she, it, they knew, wisedum is we knew, wiseduth is you plural knew, and wisedun is they plural knew. So, more important than adding on more verbs to learner's understanding perhaps will be the introduction of prepositions, which are some of the most important words in Gothic. Prepositions generally deal with either a certain kind of space or time and are followed by a noun or simply no, I think that's a typo there. And are followed by a noun or what is it? Yeah, they need to be followed by maybe an adjective. But yeah, so examples of prepositions in English are under, in, for, after, with, against, and so on. So these kinds of words. So for example, in the sentence, I am on the table, the word on is the preposition as it conveys the space or time being conveyed. Which kind of space or time the subject takes will depend upon the preposition used. The prepositions taught in this lesson take the accusative case. Although there are other cases that other prepositions will take, these will be covered in later lessons. What it means for a preposition to take the accusative case what it means for a preposition to take the accusative case is that any nouns or adjectives that follow directly after the prepositions will always be in a given case. For example, if one wanted to say against that man, one would need to say with Radhan Naguman, with Saguma being in the accusative. All other genders work in this way. So don't slate your own workbook. So, in our word stock here, we have a bunch more prepositions. So, an is along, vi is according to, or about, for is for, inuch is without, verch is through, un is until or up to, withra is against, fadrin is a noun this time and it's a family, ferhus is world, friond is friend in the accusative, ser is sorrow, azetava is easily, azetava is easily, niel is never, literally no ever or no age, and then uvilava is badly. And then a phrase we've got here is hitta, until now. So, I'm not going to try and have anyone do a sentence because we didn't have a good response last time, and I'm not going to have people waiting around awkwardly until that happens. So, given all this, let us return boldly and bravely, as we always do, to our. Who knows what we're doing it? Can I get an H? Can I get an E? Can I get an R? Can I get a Okay, no, I'm being silly. Oh my god, someone typed a H. Yes, I love you. Thank you for typing that H. Oh no, you guys are actually doing it now. Fucking. Oh god. Okay. The hermeneumatab pseudodositheana. So I believe we were on, I think we did part 5, didn't we? So now we're on to part 6. Wait, no, we did that last lesson as well, goodness. So now we are on to part 7. Wait, that's the same. Sorry, this is very poorly designed by me. Here we are, finally. On to part 8, and I'm fairly sure this is the last part. So After this, fortunately, we have another colloquy that we've translated. Whoop whoop. So we have more hermeneumata. Can I H in chat? So yeah. So can anyone identify some cognates from this glorious text as we go through it? So Maru means geef me zijn bord, jag summe in tewa du reepgangan, jag lektion terganga, in waterraba lana saman, athan was, dan quima jag isavan nimado hehat, jag afridja, dan ran you in waterraba quimans. So, can anyone identify some words? Some of these we've already had in our lessons previously, so you should be able to identify them. Bord, yes, is plank. In this case, it's sort of like a tablet. It has the meaning of tablet, like a writing tablet, I believe. Yes, Saxto, well done. Brilliant. Yach does in fact mean and. Can anyone see any other cognates? Yes, good. Good looks. Means is, yes, mine. Yes. I don't think we have a cognate for maru. There is a cognate in Scots, Gaelic, and Irish, but not in and Welsh, I believe, as well, but not in Watergrava. Yes, I'm fairly sure. In Watergrava, like a water hole. Yes, exactly. Dana Saman. Very good. Wata. Oh no. Have we made a mistake? Oh dear, how terrible. Watergrava. Okay, I'll correct that now. Actually, no, it's not in the document. I'll correct it later. Right, so Marco means Revnisbol, Achsume in Tewe. Yeah, there's a wait, no, in Tewa, Dugrethgangand, Yachletion Verganga. So, what's the word? This means my boy, and Margot in this case is in the vocative case. Geef me bord, give me a tablet, writing tablet. Yachsume in Tewa Dugrethgangand. So, some go into an order, like, so they line up basically. Dugreth and just like for the class, for the speaking. Jak legt Jon Verganga, and go over the lesson. In Waterravadana Saman, in the water hole, that same thing I think altogether. I'm forgetting now what Waterrava precisely is. I should have had my notes in front of me. Mea maxima culpa. Yes, Afar. Yes, it went after. Good. So Athan was, however it was. Vanoch quima yach isavan nimado hehat. Then I came and he sort of told me to take my sandals. So he's going home basically. Yach afar idya. And I returned. Danach ran, you in Watergrava Quimans. So then I ran, now coming into. Oh, I think I know what this is. This is the I think this is Bath actually. Yes, I think this is Bath. Yes. So going into the bathhouse, Watergrava, and then so he runs back and he's coming into the bathhouse. I think this is the ending. I should have prepared for this better and like remembered the translation better. What do the plus mean? Where is the Oh, those. So those are just medial points. If you look in, say, medieval manuscripts, like the full stops aren't really like on the line themselves. They're sort of like in this time period in Gothic manuscripts, they're sort of in the middle, a bit more. So that's what those are. An interpunct, yes, punctus medius or punctus elevatus, I believe it's called in technical terms. Right, so that is the end of our lesson. Apologies for having butchered the hermeneumata, and if somebody in the comment section can translate it better than I can, please leave your comment and rip me a new one in the description. sorry, in the comment section. And for now, I will end on our pretty mosaic. And thank you guys for attending and giving your answers in chat. Do your workbook exercises on your own, and have a good day. Bye, guys.